Hey everybody. Sorry I am in the dark, but my kids are all asleep and I decided I was going to come and do a recording for you. I'm going to go over what the rich text editor looks like. And to do this, I'm going to go up here to the top of my page and I'm going to click where there is a green dotted line and a plus sign, which means that I can make that material right there. I'm going to choose to start with a page. Most of the tools here in Schoology have this giant editor right up here. Okay, so we are going to be using that. For this purpose, I'm going to zoom in so you can see everything. Hopefully it will move, and it's not moving, of course. There we go. Okay, so right here, as you can see, you're going to title your page. Okay, so you have the normal font editing tools right here. When you have the bulleted list, it is not like how Word or Google have it where you can have multiple different bulleted layers, but I will show you how to do the indentions. So say you have a bulleted list, you wanted to start with a bullet, you can click there, and then you can also say first bullet, and then you can just use the increase indent, and that will give you another layer. It just won't give you another option for the bullets. Okay, formatting. So you can use any of these. You can also clear the formatting. So if you are doing a copy and paste over from somewhere, you can use that to clear the formatting. So say I grab something from another website. I'm going to go over here to one of my Schoology pages. And I grab something else. So grab all these blues, copy and paste, and then I paste it in. Now right here, it's looking like, okay, it keeps the hyperlinks, it kept everything nice and neat, but it kept this other bullet up here, and that's because I had the bullet there before, so that's going to drive me crazy. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to unbullet, okay, and now it's starting to keep those. But it gets a little messy here and there, and that's why I wanted to show you that it's not perfect, okay, when you're copying and pasting. So I'm just going to delete that out, and then I'm going to remind myself that the next time that I do this, okay, I am going to just unbullet it first, then paste it in, and then see how those bullets followed and they came over with it. So that is one of those quick tips. All right, next thing that I'm going to do is show you how to use the get rid of that formatting that I was just talking about. You can clear formatting and notice how it keeps everything over here, okay, the same as what you have already. So it just kept the links going for you, but it didn't keep the font and it didn't keep the bulleted font. So totally up to you how you're going to work that. Now notice over here, I've got a paragraph font. If it was the pre-formatted font that it came with, okay, you're going to notice a gray background. I do not like that, so I'm going to come back over here and go back to paragraph. So that's one of our quick tips. Also, when you're copying and pasting, sometimes you'll notice that a bunch of gray boxes behind. I know Denise Leatherman and Julie Feeney had been working with me on that, and that was something that we couldn't figure out, and I tinkered around this weekend and figured that out. So you're just going to be using over here, this is how you're going to be changing up your different headers and fonts in that capacity. Now, one of the biggest things you're going to be using the rich text editor for is to create more visual appealing items. So I'm going to remove my bullet, hit enter, and I'm going to go over here to a table. So I'm going to enter in a 3x2 table, and I'm going to pull out from the corner. So it's about the width of what I'm working with. And you'll notice there's very fine lines that are there. Now, once I click into my table, now I have more editing tools here for the table. The first one is the border. So I can take the border off, okay, or turn it back on. A lot of times I like to organize everything because I can see the lines right here on the page. And then I take the border off, and then it looks really clean on the other side on the view of the user. If I'm going and I'm like, man, I really needed another column or a row, you can insert those after. Those have the green tools there. The other thing I might want to do is I might want to merge. So I can come up here after I highlight them and merge. Now I strongly suggest that you merge before you put any items into the table. It just makes sure that everything runs smoother, okay? You can then unmerge and split those cells back, okay? All right, so how do I insert a picture into this table or just insert a picture in general? Okay, so there's a couple of different ways. So I can go here. This is called the Insert Content tool. I can insert content and then go to Image and Media. Once that opens up, I can upload an image from my computer by having it downloaded already. Okay, I'm going to do an info. Okay, bringing that in here. So now it's hiding over here. Can make it a little bit bigger if I so choose. I think it's kind of a tiny image. This is another thing. See how it's kind of pixelated? You might want to grab a better image, but for this purpose, you get the drift. The other thing that I could do is I could go over to Google and I could look for puppies. Puppies. Here we go. Okay. And I'm going to go over here to images. And I know you're always doing this on your Google Slides or on your docs. Now, one quick tip here for images. Okay, we're going to learn this in the next section on week 3, but I thought I would show you right now. I can choose a GIF, or I could choose transparent image. Okay, so then there is this cute little puppy over here. Okay, maybe I want to use him. Maybe I want to use this one. Okay, so here's the tail wagging. Okay, then I go here and I copy the image address. Make sure that you open it up and then copy image address, otherwise it won't work. Then I go back over here, find my other box that I was working in, and I go back to Insert Content, Image and Media, from the web. And this is just like what you do with Google when you give a URL. Okay, and now you've got this wonderful little GIF here. Okay, so you can play around by using the corners to make it bigger or smaller. Same thing with over here. Okay, but now say for instance, I have this big gap here. Oops, Control Z is your friend. You can center it. So I'm going to center these two. And the other thing that you can do is on any of these images, you'll notice that they turn blue and then they get this little media button. Once you click on there, you could give it a description if you have any folks that need that. Okay, if it reads the pictures to them, like with Read Write Google, that would help with a caption. You can also make sure that it's left or right alignment. I like to use the centering in the table. And then if you wanted things to all be the same size, I would use, okay, I'll go in and I'll do 75. As long as it's a square, then they can be the same. Then it might need a border. Okay, and then you can decide how much space it gets when it is paired with text. So if I had text next to it, you could use these vertical spacings and horizontal spacing. So see now, if I click out of it, it's got that border. Okay, and the same thing for over here. And you'll notice that the dimensions, it doesn't keep the constraints here. So you have to kind of do the math if you so choose. That's why for any rectangular images, I would just pull from the corner. And that's a quick tip, okay? And the reason why this has a white background is because it was a transparent image when it came in. So you're going to look for PNGs. That's what you're going to want to bring in when you're downloading images to use in your class. You'll learn that in week 3. It'll be a lot of fun to do that. All right, and then in our third column, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add something from YouTube. So these are all basically just importing different things from around the web. Okay, fish, moths, seagulls, Where's my go-to? Okay, so here I click, and then I'm going to go over here, import as an embed. So it's going to come in, and you're going to be like, whoa, what is that thing? So it's like a little screen that's pulled over on any of the media that is embedded into the page that is not part of your resources. So here, I'm going to center it. All right. If you would like to preview, you click on it, turn it blue again, click on the media button, and then it's going to show you what it looks like. So right now it's kind of tiny, okay, but that's totally fine. Constrained proportions, this is what I was talking about earlier, that if I chose 200, it would automatically convert that for me. I don't even have to do the math. Perfect. And then I insert. Still looks like a screen. I'm going to say create for right now, just so we can take a look at it. I've got a couple of practice pages. Clearly I like puppies. Okay, so I'm going to click on here. This is what it looks like because I did not choose to have it showing right away. So notice I have the grid marks off. Okay, and this is now it just plays right there for you. So my suggestion is to make sure that say you have, 5 or 6 videos for the kids to watch. They can choose 2 out of the 5. You can go in and you can grid those out in a table. It'll look nice and clean. You don't have to have tons of things hyperlinked. You can put the YouTube videos in there. That makes it super easy. So you could put the directions for what they're supposed to do right up on top. Then here, edit the page. Okay, I can go back in, say I wanted to give more directions. I'm going to delete these out. Okay, you can do step by step. If you wanted to have multiple tables out there, you could totally do that. Okay, I could start with a heading that's right there, and I might choose 18 for my directions. All right, then I would go back to paragraph style. You're going to get to know how you want to set up your pages as you go throughout. But this was, in a nutshell, what the rich text editor does. You also have the ability to switch to HTML. This looks kind of scary to most people. If you ever have to go into the HTML, things that I look for are like height and width. So I can see some of those things. I can see that I embedded a YouTube video. I can see that I centered things. It's not as scary as you think. But to get back to that, you can say switch to visual, and there's my visuals again. Down at the bottom of each one of these pages, you will also see that you can add a file, a link, resources from your resources, your personal resources. You can add an audio and video recording. So if you wanted to record the directions right up front for your users, you can. And then you can also add an external tool. So if you had something, you would be able to do that. And we're going to go over that in another session. So I hope that this was helpful, just understanding the rich text editor. It's very basic, very bare bones, but by using the heading, paragraph, all of these, other font coloring options, highlighting. I think really you can get down to the nitty gritty with your students. And if you ever needed to, you could pre-format some other things and bring them in as pictures, even if you needed to from slides. So we'll discuss how to do that in week 3 as well when we really dive into the visual side of things. So hope you got a lot out of this little mini session with the rich text editor.